got something for y'all I think y'all gonna like. The Biden has announced that he is running for re-election. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
Live now to our newsroom. Jessica Guay is following all of these developments for us. Jess.
Yeah, that's right. President Joe Biden made it official in a video release. As you mentioned, he is running for president again, exactly 4 years after he announced his last presidential bid for the 2020 race. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Hold on, y'all. Before we get into this, y'all got to get my likes up, yo. Y'all got to get my likes up, man. Y'all got to get my likes up. How do y'all feel? Ask yourself this question before we get into this conversation, all right? We got a couple things that we want to mine out. Ask yourself, how do you feel about the idea of Joe Biden running for another term, another 4-year term? Remember this also, as we look at this new thing that Joe Biden just recently released that's basically launching his new campaign. How do you feel about the job that he's done? About everything that's going on with Ukraine, BRICS, Russia, China, inflation, the US dollar, jobs, infrastructure, running in the Victim Olympics, advocating for the alphabet community. How do you feel about Kamala Harris? Obviously, we know that she'll have another term. It seems like it was just yesterday. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading them shortly. It seems like it was just yesterday that Biden was just elected. Let's go ahead and look at this.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
In the 3-minute video, President Biden repeated some familiar themes. The video includes images of the January 6th deadly insurrection at the Capitol and Republicans.
Playing on y'all emotions.
Including former President Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security.
Woo, he had Trump in there and DeSantis. He had Trump and DeSantis in there. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
That you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love.
Ooh, look at this. Hey, look at the imagery, and look how it goes so fast. Look at the imagery. And look how it goes through in different little slots so fast. Thank God we have social media today where we can pause and rewind and go back and look at exactly what's being presented to us. Look at the imagery, y'all. And telling people who they can and can't love.
Who they can love. All while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
Later today, the president will be...
Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that power team. A white man, the first woman vice president of the United States of America, and Cam Harris, who also just happens to be an AKA, by the way.
Be addressing a meeting of labor union leaders in Washington, another move similar to his 2019 launch. In the early days of his 2020 campaign, Biden traveled to Pittsburgh to address a supportive crowd filled with labor union members. The president's campaign is expected to host major campaign donors in Washington this week, and the White House Correspondents' Dinner is Saturday. Former President Donald Trump currently tops multiple polls for the 2024 GOP nomination after announcing his own re-election bid late last year. Should President Biden, who is now 80, win the presidency, President Biden would be 82 years old at the beginning of his second term. And
82 through 86? 82 through 86? That got to be amongst the oldest presidents that's ever lived in the United States of America.
86 by the end of it. He's already the oldest person ever to win the presidency. We'll make sure to keep you updated as this story develops. Live in the
So, how do you guys feel about that? Just in general, a general sentiment. Let me see what's happening out here in this chat. He's not making it through the first term, running on an image, and I'm not the other. Black LGBTQ men was so yesterday. The future is female. Y'all heard it here. Get the hell on, Gramps. I'm not voting Dem. Somebody is voting these people in. Listen, I don't know if it's your kids, your mama, your daddy, your girlfriend, who. Somebody is voting Biden in office. Somebody is voting in office. Meanwhile, on the flip side of it, I just heard that Biden is ruling to redistribute high-risk loan costs to homeowners that got good credit. Y'all don't know what that means? Here, let me break it down for you. Let me share with you what's going on. You ready?
As of the Saturday, President Biden is ready to make another run for the White House, so we're hearing. And after months of hints, 3 sources telling NBC News the president could launch his re-election campaign as soon as Tuesday. That date would mark the anniversary, by the way, of Biden's 2020 campaign announcement. Joining us now is Debbie Mukersell-Powell, senior.
But I just wanted to make sure y'all getting it from multiple different sources. Now I want to share this with you.
Welcome back. The March existing home sales report out at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning. Prices are expected to come down 1.7%. Mortgage
Reading Super Chat shortly.
rates spiking up to 6.43% yesterday as the Biden administration is planning to force home buyers with good credit to pay more for their mortgages so that they can subsidize the loans of high-risk borrowers.
Now hear me out.
Experts reportedly estimating that good credit buyers could pay about $40.
Hear what we saying here. The Biden administration, okay, is subsidizing high risk with people that have good credit. Have I not been warning y'all? Let's stop for one second. All right. Have I not been warning y'all that we are moving over into a socialist environment, and credit in a general sense just gives banks, elected officials, and whoever has access to it the ability to look at you in the same way that we look at these little characters on the screen from a gamification perspective in order to make more informed decisions of how it is that they can leverage what it is that you have going on in order to then energize whoever it is that's more in favor for what it is that they're doing from an incentive perspective. So if the majority of voters, right, if there's a large segment of voters, and if people that are leaning more to a liberal perspective are the most enrolled, the most in debt, the most begging for Biden, for student loan forgiveness, the most that are only putting down 3.5%, the most that are getting their cars repossessed, the people that have the worst credit. If the majority of those people make up 90% of your voter base, or if they make up a huge segment of your voter base, what's stopping policy from being implemented that then punishes people that do the right thing, that lean more from a conservative or Republican perspective? And then to reward those. This is the whole idea of eat the rich. And I've been saying this for years, right? I'm not going to suffer as a result of it. Now, who you have to ask yourself is, who is this going to affect? The middle class. You guys are going to be the ones that suffer and pay for the sins of your friends. You guys are going to be the ones that suffer and pay for the sins of your friends. You're going to pay for it. I got them. I sit on them, but I don't do anything with them. Or you want to see what I use, for example? This one. This is one of them. What do I use this for? Well, I use it to be able to get rental cars, being able to get hotel rooms, making sure that I got everything booked or whatever like that. But I don't utilize it in the same way that you do. And so when the Biden administration say, oh, okay, Cool. Well, we're going to use this in order to continue to run up the check and then help people run in the Victim Olympics. I'm not going to be the one that's affected as a result of it. You are. You're going to be the one that suffer as a result of it.
Additional a month on a $400,000 mortgage. The rule is set to go into effect on May 1st. Bob, it's subsidizing those homeowners who probably shouldn't have the mortgage in the first place.
Yeah, we've seen this before, haven't we?
Yeah.
And people were subsidized, whether it was autos.
Let's read this. Home buyers with a credit score of 680 or higher, 680 or higher, which isn't even like crazy. It's just like, that's just okay. Will pay about $40 per month more on a home loan of $400,000. Home buyers who make down payments of 15 to 20% will get socked with the largest fees.
Whether it's been homes, and then they default. And so it just comes back to bite you. But again, it's another subsidy to try and buy votes, right? And I don't know what good credit is. I mean, is it a FICO score that determines that? Is there a price level by which the buyer, as I was mentioning to you earlier about LA, they have this rule out there now. If you sell your house, say $5 million, you got to give the governor $250,000 for homeless.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like you're locked up in your home.
Well, I mean, they did this with student loans right before the election, Kaylee, and it was, telling young people that I'm going to forgive their debt sparked young people to come out and vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, and I think of this.
And what are they doing? And it never fails. It never fails. What are they doing right around election season? Why do you think that they went to war with the Supreme Court on making sure that student loans, remember, the only student loans that's been forgiven up to this point are student loans from like wild institutions or places like ITT Technical Institute, where the guy was on there with his hat turned backwards talking about, you ain't doing nothing, huh? You might as well get you know what I'm saying? Get off the couch, come and get this. And so they charge you these egregious fees because it was a for-profit university. Places like that. And then people that had worked for government entities for over 10 years in order to get their stuff taken off, and everything had been messed up with the federal government and paperwork. A lot of those loans were forgiven and stuff like that, right? But when it comes to you, right? Remember when they promised you, they said, listen, if you got this amount of student loans, it could be forgiven. And all of y'all was sitting there fighting with me, and you were saying on coaching calls and stuff like that, well, I got the money, I just don't want to pay it off because I don't know if Biden is going to forgive it or not. And I said, okay, smart move. We'll make sure you hold on to the money. And then you went and used the money, and you went to Louis Vuitton, and you went and got a BBL. Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember that? Huh? Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember? Huh? You spent the money, and they still haven't forgave your student loans. They gave you 0 interest over all of these years, and you still haven't gotten your student loans forgiven. And now you letting all of this time, and eventually the moratorium is going to end, and they're going to start charging you interest back on your student loans, and you still ain't paid them off. You just adjusted your lifestyle. That's it. You adjusted your lifestyle.
Rule the same way that I even think of the electric vehicle push, in that it's a direct attempt to inject socialism into the economy. It is the federal government deliberately interfering with the market in order to force the market to act according to its whims, instead of just allowing consumers to decide for themselves what they want to buy, which kind of car, or who gets mortgages, who is eligible, right? These are things that the government should not have control over. The banks should, or the market should. The market should determine the direction of this. And the Biden administration is deliberately trying to change that.
Yeah, Mark.
Just to kind of echo your point, this is socialism for homeowners. We mentioned the student loan issue. Cab drivers who never went to college are subsidizing that student loan debt, right? And in this situation, this Biden administration, more and more often, they are making decisions to reward bad decisions. And that's not the way you grow as a country, as an economy. essentially saying, hey, if you spent recklessly, you lived above your means, and you stopped making your payments on time, have no fear, someone who's done it the right way is going to pay for you.
I don't care if it's $1, $2, $3, $4, $40. Now, we know the going rate for some of these chicks is $40. We've seen it during the pandemic. All right? All of y'all were old enough to be able to live through the pandemic. I don't care how much money it is. One thing I know for sure, and two things is for certain, is that I don't want to be forced to give money to somebody who decided to live their life a completely different way. Why should any of us subsidize somebody else's lifestyle? Why should we be forced to subsidize somebody else's lifestyle who decided to do things the wrong way? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The market determines who's the winners and the losers. The market determines who's the winners and the losers. It's not the federal government that continues to write policies that allow for people to complain, say, eat the rich, sell their shirts, sell their kidneys, go and have kids out of wedlock, make bad decisions, and then go ahead and live their life how they want to live it. This is insane. This, in my opinion, is insane. You already got free college. You already get unlimited Pell Grants that you decided to mess over, and because your parents didn't make that much money, and so you went to college for free, but you then took the additional loans out so that you can then come back and beg Biden for student loan forgiveness, even though you didn't need the additional loans. You could have went to community college, used the same amount of money that you would have got in a Pell Grant to go to school for free and get your books for free and to be able to buy a car when you got your refund back. But you decided to run in the Victim Olympics, and now, as a grown individual, you are still being coddled by these liberals that then told you that they were going to tie you to the Democratic plantation, and you still there. And they doing it for votes. They have no reason to do this other than to do it for votes.
And that's not what capitalism is all about.
Yeah.
And it puts us in a situation where there's no consequences when you make bad decisions.
No.
My wife and I, we were paying, when we moved to Cleveland, Mark, back in the 70s, we were paying 18%.
Wow.
No one gave us anything.
Right.
We just struggled and worked our way through it.
Yeah, well, that's not what the administration.
Can you imagine paying 18% interest on a home back in the 70s and the 80s? We have more options than we've ever had before. We have more free market ability to be able to do the things that we want to do than we ever done before. And we sitting here complaining about it instead of doing something about it. But this is the lane that you created, ladies and gentlemen. This is the bed that y'all wanted to sleep in. This is how you wanted to rock. Let me pull this up a little closer. Make sure I get a full view. This is how you wanted to rock. And so as a result, this is the bed that y'all gonna sleep in.